Many footballers adore adulation and demand respect. These star players earn more money in a month than most of us can imagine of earning in a lifetime. They even appear in multiple photo shoots, shampoo commercials, and sing up a ton of endorsement deals. They grab supermodels, luxury cars, and mansions as big as any five-star hotel. But are they really that good? Let us take a look at some of the overrated footballers that we have seen through the decades. 30 Gerard Pique, having won the World Cup, a European Championship, 7 league titles, and 4 Champions League trophies. Many must consider the tall Spaniard to be a brilliant defender. He is solid at the back, but cannot be rated as a great player, despite the flurry of silverware surrounding him. Regardless of the illustrious teams that Pique has been a part of, the overall success has given the defender much more praise than his individual performances have warranted. On almost every occasion, Pique has been partnered with a world-class defender in international colors. A very good defender who has fallen victim to his success, Pique will be least remembered for his defensive performances. 29 Joe Hart, the shot stopper, showed amazing keeping abilities as a youngster, but as years progressed, Joe Hart has had it easy, with defenders like Vincent Kompany, Bakary Sagna, Pablo Zabaleta, and Nicolas Otamendi by his side. Hart has never been challenged for his spot in the playing XI, as the cash-rich Manchester City have never thought about investing in a decent keeper, until now. The English keeper is a great player on paper, but the story is completely different on the pitch. His lack of focus and composure have cost Manchester City and England innumerable games in the past. With Claudio Bravo completing his move to the Etihad, it may be game over for the Englishman. 28 Radamel Falcao, once regarded as the next big thing in football, the Colombian forward has had a miserable couple of years in England. After a successful career with Porto and Atletico Madrid, Falcao made a big money move to AS Monaco. After a couple of impressive performances, Falcao began to lose his form and lost his place in the starting XI to youngster Anthony Martial. Manchester United acquired the services of the Colombian on a loan deal in 2014. Falcao scored only 4 times in 26 appearances under Louis van Gaal and could only muster up a solitary goal for Chelsea in 10 games. Adding up to his poor form were a series of nasty injuries. He lost a lot of confidence and never regained his abilities. His goal-scoring record with the English clubs is a joke and appears to be a player on the wane. 27 Alberto Aquilani. In 2009, on the eve of a £17 million move, the cream of the crop in world football were lining up to declare the Italians' greatness. The likes of Rafa Benitez, John Arne Rice, and Francesco Totti heaped praise on the Italian on the back of his transfer. However, the next 6 years were miserable for Aquilani. Lacking physicality and good technique, Alberto soon found himself starting as a substitute. First-team appearances were few and far between. To rub salt into the already deep wounds, Aquilani suffered severe injuries on a regular basis and failed to live up to his expectations. 26 Georgie King-class. If there was a player who built his reputation on a single goal, it was the Georgian midfielder. His goal for Manchester City against Southampton was top-notch. Apart from that, he scored only 21 times in 122 appearances for the Blue Eagles. After his disappointing spell in England, King-class was signed by Ajax to replace Yuri Lippmann. When there was a change in manager during the Georgians' move, things went downhill. He was never utilized by January Walters, Ajax's then new manager, and was offloaded to other clubs. King-class never really settled at a club again. 25 Karim Benzema. The Frenchman is leading the line for one of the biggest clubs in the world, yet has failed to headline the top scorers chart despite being given plenty of opportunities. Benzema is a great player on his day, but appears to be lazy and lackluster on more than a few occasions. After his move from Bayern to the Bernabeu, he has played himself into a position where he is a crucial member of the starting XI. The Los Blancos have offloaded supreme talents Gonzalo Higuain and Alvaro Morata to hang to the hyped forward. With Morata becoming a Madrid player again, it may be game over for the mercurial forward. 24 Andy Carroll. One of the easiest choices to pick in this list, Englishman Carroll has had a mixed career. The towering forward broke the British transfer record in 2011, when he was sold to Liverpool for a whopping £35 million. That price tag was higher than the highest fees commanded by the likes of Didier Drogba, Sergeant Robben, and Diego Costa. Carroll was consistent in underperforming and was offloaded to West Ham United. He may have resurrected his career at Upton Park, but the word overvalued will always be associated with the lad from Gateshead. 23 Tom Cleverley. The 26-year-old Bradford City youth product has hardly done anything to deserve playing for clubs like Manchester United and Everton. The lack of suitable alternatives saw Cleverley gain regular game time in Manchester. Just like Sean Marsh in cricket, Cleverley has been given plenty of chances to prove himself on the pitch, but has failed to do so time and again. No doubt he has talent, but what he lacks in is application. With Mohamed Bisik out injured, the midfielder has one more chance to finally prove his worth. 22 Ophiria Ramadi. Much was expected from the talented midfielder after Real Madrid splashed €32.2 million for his services in 2013. A strong presence in the heart of the Sociedad midfield, Ilaria had bailed out his team from sticky situations on numerous occasions. He was a big disappointment with the Los Blancos. Toni Kroos's arrival made the Spaniard surplus and found himself warming the benches. Even with the few starts he was given, he failed to make the most of his chances and was transferred back to Sociedad within 2 years of his arrival. 21 Florent Malauda. A great example of form is temporary, but class is permanent. French midfielder Florent Malauda enjoyed a fruitful 6 seasons with Premier League giants Chelsea. He had a memorable 2009-10 Premier League season at Stamford Bridge. The main problem with the Frenchman was that he was a one-paced and limited winger. After his exit from Stamford Bridge in 2013, Malauda joined Turkish team Trabzonspor. Underwhelming performances in Turkey and India with Delhi Dynamos have made Florent a non-entity in the group of football sillies. 20 Ezequiel Lavezzi. Often running around the pitch constantly and making good use of the ball, Lavezzi is not the greatest winger in the world. He failed to score a single goal in the 2014 World Cup and had a couple of average seasons with PSG before moving to China. Lavezzi was often linked with a big money move to the Premier League. No one knows why any manager would want to acquire the services of the lackluster forward. After suffering a nasty injury in the recently concluded Copa America, it is time for Lavezzi to hang up his boots. 19 Wayne Rooney may be England's all-time leading goalscorer and one of the greats at Manchester United, but he is nowhere near Luis Suarez's or even Daniel Sturridge's level. If Rooney was as good as many think, he would have been snapped up by Barcelona or Real Madrid ages ago. His poor goal return in major tournaments coupled with a solitary Champions League victory illustrates why he cannot be considered as one of the game's greats. With the arrival of Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Paul Pogba, the Englishman will no longer be the team's X-factor and may soon lose out on a place in the starting XI. 18 David Luiz. On his day, David Luiz is a solid centre-half. However, his penchant for ludicrous passes and limited technique masks his limitations as a defender. Luiz is frequently caught off guard, proving to be costly on more than a few occasions. Germany's 7-1 thrashing of Brazil is the best example. With Thiago Silva by his side, Luiz tends to venture forward frequently and commit howlers. His mistakes are often masked by his captain's brilliant defensive displays. With over €70 million in transfer fees spent on the curly-haired defender, one wonders why the likes of Pique and Diego Gossens were sold for a bargain. 17 Kevin Prince Boateng. Though he possesses a considerable amount of skill and power, the Ghanaian international often underwhelms on the pitch. I don't think he himself knows regarding his ideal position in the side. He does not have the graft to become the best defensive midfielder nor has the creative abilities to become a decent attacking midfielder. After his arrival at Milan in 2011, he impressed everyone with his flair and passion. Boateng's performances garnered the interests of the elite clubs in Europe. However, the next few seasons were terrible for the Ghana international and soon fell out of radar. The occasional moments of brilliance from Jerome's stepbrother reminds us all how good he can be when everything falls in place for him. 16 Marouane Fellaini. Once considered to be a key member of Belgium's golden generation, the defensive midfielder joined Premier League giants Manchester United after a stellar spell at Everton. His career spiraled downward soon after. Mistakes after mistakes resulted in the drastic drop in form. He may have been one of the best midfielders in the league during his tenure at Everton, but he has discovered that he still has plenty to prove to the big boys. With David Moyes showing interest in the midfielder, it is time for Marouane to move out of Old Trafford and show what he is capable of. 15 Nicolas Anelka, the big Frenchman, had all the weapons in his arsenal to become of the great strikers, but as his career is coming to a screeching halt, you can't help feel that he has never made the most of his talent. Possessing good pace, immense power and a bag of tricks, Anelka made big money moves to Chelsea, PSG, Arsenal and Real Madrid. He never performed on a consistent basis and could not establish himself as a dominating force in attack. Anelka also had behavioral issues and fought with most of his managers, spoiling his reputation in the process. 14 Alvaro Arbeloa. Real Madrid has a squad brimming with quality players. It's surprising for a mediocre player like Arbeloa to have made over 100 appearances for Los Blancos. A perfect fit for a mid-table side in any of the elite leagues in Europe, Arbeloa has many flaws which have been exposed time and again by the quality European sides. The arrival of Dani Carvajal and Danilo signaled the end of the Spaniard's tenure at the capital. The grand farewell awaited him on his swan song match, which came as a big surprise considering the treatment received by the legendary Iker Casillas. 13 Robinho demanded a lot of dough for a few goals. Another player who has commanded huge transfer fees but never quite delivered on his promise, Brazilian winger Robinho never made the most of his talent. The winger played for some of the biggest clubs in the world, Real Madrid and Manchester City. As politics are crucial in Spanish elections for club presidents, Madrid chief Florentino Perez used Robinho as a bait to lure Cristiano Ronaldo. After a decent debut, Robinho faded away and churned up lackluster performances. He was offloaded to Manchester City in 2008, where he failed miserably. He was shipped out on loan to Santa Fe in 2010 and is a non-entity in today's world of elite football. 12 Simon Mignolet has had more than a few terrible games for Liverpool this season. The Belgian goalkeeper is the perfect example for a player with two different personalities. Sometimes, the astounding saves made by Mignolet make us believe that he has superpowers. However, the Liverpool player is capable of making schoolboy errors which have cost his team dearly in the past. After a good start to his Anfield career, much was expected from Mignolet, but a lack of confidence under the high ball has proved to be the Belgians' undoing. With the arrival of Laurent Karius, Mignolet will soon be the second-choice keeper for the team from Merseyside. 11 Javier Pastore. Pastore has the talent but lacks dedication. One of the most graceful players when on song, Argentina midfielder Javier Pastore has gathered countless admirers. After a couple of impressive seasons with Guillermo, Pastore was bought by big spenders PSG for a hefty €42 million. The central midfielder has impressed in patches and has not lived up to everyone's expectations. Pastore lost his place in the starting XI soon after the arrival of Italian youngster Marco Verratti. He has failed to impress even in national color and has fallen out the radar. Pastore must try his luck somewhere else if he wants to resurrect his career. 10 Sergio Ramos can consider himself lucky to have played for his national team back in 2009. Paulo Maldini singled out the Spaniard to be his heir. My heir will be Sergio Ramos. He is young and has everything to become my heir. He is quick, powerful and has technique. He is young and has plenty of time ahead of him. He is part of a great club in Real Madrid. My advice to him will be to play in the middle of defense like I did. The secret is to train hard. Since then, Ramos has proved to be a decent defender, but he is not immune to the frequent howlers. He may become a Real Madrid great in the future, but Ramos will not be remembered as a defender who matched the standards set by Carlos Puyol. 9 Jack Wilshere. Wilshere has spent a lot of time out injured. The Three Lions have a knack for hyping young talent lurking on the fringes of the national team called up. They did it with Theo Walcott in 2006 and Jack Wilshere followed suit in 2010. The midfielder often struggles against tall defenders and failed to score a single goal in the 2012-13 Premier League season, despite making over 20 appearances for Arsenal. For a player considered to be the future of English midfield, Jack has failed to stay fit and perform on a consistent basis. As the article is being written, Wilshere has just started playing for Arsenal again, after spending a fair amount of time in the doctor's office. 8 Martin Demichelis. The Argentina defender has played alongside some of the biggest names in football. One of the slowest defenders to have played football, the Argentina veteran was highly enthusiastic and energetic on the pitch. However, he is capable of making the most crucial mistake whenever he suffers his frequent drop in concentration. From being outplayed by Ozil in the World Cup final to being schooled by Marcus Rashford in the Manchester derby, Demichelis is known for his blunders and his brilliance. He has played for some of the biggest clubs in Europe, Bayern Munich and Manchester City, despite making only 50 appearances for his national team. At the age of 35, he continues to surprise everyone and make a living out of something which he is not great. 7. Stefan Al-Sharawi. The Italian lost his place in the starting XI at the mere age of 22 when the forward broke into AC Milan's starting XI. He was seen more as a breath of fresh air. A promising homegrown talent making a mark with the best Italian club, life was good for the winger. After a decent debut season, Sharawi was given regular starts and made the most of his opportunities. Since 2013, the player with the Mohawk saw a drastic drop in form and lost his place to Mario Balotelli. He may be a youngster with talent, but he needs to show far greater consistency before he can justify his massive reputation. 6. Milan borrows. The forward offered very little after a stunning €2,000 campaign for a striker with 41 international goals in 93 appearances. It is surprising to see the Czech Republic international this far up in the list. Barrow's sheer mediocrity during his club career has propelled him up to a top 10 spot. After an exception €2,000 campaign, much was expected from the then Liverpool forward. What followed next was one of the biggest disappointments in recent times. He mustered 19 league goals for the Anfield club, averaging a goal every 320 minutes, shocking for an international striker's standard. In 2005, he was offloaded to Aston Villa and struggled to make an impact ever since. 5. Theo Walcott. Walcott is struggling to start despite being an Arsenal player for over a decade. Back in 2006, the inclusion of the then 17-year-old winger came as a major surprise. Although he wasn't given any game time, much was expected from the Englishman ever since. Considered to be Arsene Wenger's best British signing, Walcott is playing in his 11th season for the North London team and is still struggling to nail a permanent place in the starting 11. Blistering pace is a great attribute for a footballer to possess, but Walcott needs to connect a few more dots if he is to become a great player. With key players Mesut Ozil, Aaron Ramsey and Jack Wilshere out injured, it is time for Theo to showcase his talent. For Riccardo Montolivo, the AC Milan player has numerous flaws in his technique. The Azzurri have produced a slew of extraordinary midfielders in the past and continue to churn out a few more, but the AC Milan captain does not fit into this illustrious group. He does his job of passing the ball around in midfield and taking the occasional shot, but comes up short in a few departments which De Rossi, Verratti, and Marcos excel in. The midfielder neither has the strength to fend off the opposition nor has the vision to pull the strings for his team. Montolivo's 56 national caps are more an indication of a top-class Italian playmaker than a rather dull and mediocre midfielder. 3. Adriano. The Brazilian got addicted to alcohol and gambling. Another Brazilian who makes it into our list. The former Inter Milan forward was a talented footballer. He possessed a ferocious left foot and had the ability to score from miles away. Adriano had all the talent in the world to make him a legend of the game, but never produced the goods on a consistent basis to justify his talent. His career faded away in the late 2000s due to his addiction to girls, gambling, and guns. Had he worked harder, he would have become the regular contender for the coveted Ballon d'Or. 2. Hull is considered to be one of the laziest players in world football, assuming that Hull is one of the better players in the world considering his demanding transfer fees is a joke. Other than having a cool name and scoring the odd spectacular goal, the Brazilian falls flat in every department. Hull is a decent attacker, but scoring 14 times in 46 appearances for Brazil indicates that he is nowhere near Philippe Coutinho or Willian's level. Having played with only Porto and Zenit St. Petersburg in Europe suggests that Hull was never considered to be a great footballer by any of the top clubs in the continent. He may have the power to burst footballs on a regular basis but lacks in skill and intellect, which are the bare necessities for a footballer to have. 1. Mario Balotelli. Sorry Mario, you top our list. Was there any doubt on who would occupy top spot? Super Mario is a phenomenal talent. If Italy is to win the trophy in the future, the Italian forward will have a big role to play. Thousands have spoken about Balotelli's antics off the pitch, and his excellence on it. At the age of 26, Mario does not have anything spectacular to show on his resume other than the brace against Germany in the 2012 Euro semi-finals. 5 years back, in an interview, Mario considered himself to be the second best player on the planet after Barcelona's Lionel Messi. In 2016, Balotelli is not even the best striker for his club and has been rejected by relegation-threatened club Sassuolo. The Italian must start scoring more regularly, and on the biggest stages, if at all he wants to win the Ballon d'Or, which he thinks he richly deserves.